ESPN and the Associated Press love the patriarchy so much they want it to dominate women's sports and spaces. Democrats love wasting your money so much they've gone absolutely feral over cuts to USAID. And last but not least, unhinged Texas Representative Al Green is trying to make fetch happen with impeachment articles against President Trump. It's time for my losers of the week, but first a word from our sponsor. As we welcome a new year, it's time to focus on what matters most, creating healthier habits, enjoying more moments with family, and spending less money on going out to eat. GoodRanchers.com is here to help you turn all of your resolutions into solutions. When you buy your meat from Good Ranchers, you're directly supporting local farms and ranches in the U.S. and skipping the chaos and imported meat from the grocery store. Good Ranchers delivers high-quality, 100% American meat straight to your door so you can start 2025 with better choices, better meals, and better moments at home. Remember to visit GoodRanchers.com and use my code TOMMY to claim $25 off, free express shipping, and your choice of free ground beef, chicken, or salmon in every order for an entire year. If spending more time with family, spending less money on going out to eat, and enjoying quality, nutritious American food is on your resolution list this year, be sure to visit GoodRanchers.com and use my code TOMMY today for meat that delivers just that. GoodRanchers.com, American meat delivered. Also, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the show on YouTube at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. The show starts now. So it's week 3 of the Trump administration, and that means it's week 3 of the restoration of common sense, but also of absolute feral and unhinged behavior from those who like to ruin everything, waste your money, and insult your intelligence. So it's time for my losers of the week. Yesterday, President Donald Trump signed an executive order to keep men out of women's sports. The fact that a Republican president has signed one of the top 5 most feminist orders in the history of the United States is really something. But what's even crazier is that in 2025, it takes an executive order from a Republican president to keep men out of women's sports. But hang on to your hats. What's even crazier than all of that is how news outlets and even worse, supposed sports news outlets are framing this historic feminist victory. As expertly referenced by our own team at Outkick, both ESPN and the Associated Press have decided to uphold the patriarchy by labeling this move as a slight to transgender rights and by referring to males as humans who are signed male at birth. The AP headline also purposely misled its readers by saying the EO prevents transgenders from competing. No, it prevents biological men from competing against women, but good try, AP. This is all truly insane, and that's not hyperbole. Imagine being upset that men cannot compete against women in women's sports. Like, imagine being so stupid. That's the hill you're willing to die on. Men in women's sports. But there's plenty of stupid outrage to go around this week. Democrats are literally coming unglued over cuts to USAID, a glorified globalist slush fund for BS and waste. Yes, the same folks who wanted an extra 87,000 IRS agents to audit you are getting really hot and bothered over their precious money laundering operations getting the once-over by Elon Musk and Doge.
We will not shut up. We will stand up. We will speak up. We will rise up. It is time, as the African spiritual says, for us to lift every voice.
What we not gonna do is stand around while they pull this that they trying to pull right now.
We have got to tell Elon Musk, nobody elected your ass.
We are gonna fight this fight. I am going to stand with you in this fight.
I am so tired of these billionaire boys and their grubby little hands grabbing at everything. Damn it, shut down the city. We are at war. There is an economic coup happening right here in the Treasury.
I didn't know they had minds left to lose, but whatever they had, they've totally lost it now. The government has been wasting your money on absolute crap for decades, but it ends now. Cry more, Democrats. The reckoning, well, that's right on time. My final loser this week has apparently been living under a rock since the evening of November 5th. He thinks he's going to resurrect fetch and impeachment efforts from the dead, and it's so delusional it actually hurts.
I rise to announce that the movement to impeach the president has begun. I rise to announce that I will bring articles of impeachment against the president for dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done. I also rise to say that the impeachment movement is going to be a grass-up movement, not a top-down. The people have got to move forward. The people have to demand it. And when the people demand it, it will be done. I did it before. I laid the foundation for impeachment, and it was done. Nobody knows more about it than I. And I know that it's time for us to lay the foundation again.
On and on about the people demanding it. Sir, good Lord, the people have spoken, and loudly. The people elected Donald J. Trump. I'm not sure where you've been, but this song and dance is as tired as the Cupid Shuffle. I actually like the Cupid Shuffle, so this is worse than that. But this is Green's fourth attempt to impeach Donald Trump. It didn't work then, and it's sure as hell not going to work now. Even Democrats are sick of this, and when even Democrats don't want to go after Trump, well, you know it's over, pal. Sit down, be quiet. You're embarrassing Texas, almost as bad as Jasmine Crockett. But those are my losers of the week. Here now is former RFK Jr. campaign advisor, Link Lauren. All right, Link, I want to go over my losers. I want to start way back up at the top here. Men are no longer going to be in women's sports. I can't imagine that that's a controversial narrative, but lo and behold, there are some that are very fired up about it. I'm wondering your thoughts. Do you think anybody's actually going to try to challenge that executive order? And if they do you think it's going to go over very well with the American people?
Well, it's great to be with you, Tommy. I can't believe we even have to have this conversation in 2025. This is why other countries have been laughing at us the last 4 years. And this is also why people have been fleeing the Democratic Party in droves, because they've abandoned common sense. That is why Donald Trump won this election in a landslide. It was a decisive victory because people wanted common sense. For the last 4 years, we were told if you don't want men and women's sports, you're transphobic, you're bigoted, you're closed-minded. Well, look at the recent New York Times Ipsos poll. 79% of Americans agree with Donald Trump. If you're a biological man, you cannot compete against women in sports, but I'm sure there are liberals who will protest and contest this, but good luck.
I just can't even imagine that there will be any Democrats that are going to stand up against this unless they represent like a really, really deep blue, stupid area that they don't get it. They haven't come to grips with reality yet. But I can't imagine that any Democrats actually going to raise their hand and be like, no, we want men in women's sports. I just don't think that even they are that stupid in 2025. I'm sure later on they will try to resurrect this. This is never going to fully go away. Woke is always going to be like a disgusting underbelly of this country. But I think right now, at least, people are going to shut up about it. And I think that that image yesterday of Donald Trump with all the young female athletes surrounding him, I mean, I said it in my intro, but I think maybe perhaps one of the biggest feminist achievements in all of U.S. history. And I can't believe that it's not being celebrated. I know they hate Donald Trump. They're never going to celebrate Donald Trump. But this is a feminist achievement. Am I wrong?
Absolutely. I saw that picture yesterday and I said, this needs to be framed and put in a museum tonight. For the last 4 years, Joe Biden's whole brand was that he's Grandpa Joe, he's Daddy Joe, even though his kids, some of them, they aren't winners. He hasn't even met his granddaughter in Arkansas, but Joe Biden's brand is that he's Grandpa Joe. Well, the last 4 years, we have waited for him to protect women's rights, women's sports, women's spaces, women's locker rooms, and he failed to do it. Kamala Harris, she did not even want to talk about this on the campaign trail for 107 days when she was running for president. So I am not surprised that they're going to put up a fight, but we are on the side of common sense. 80% of Americans agree if you're a man, you can't be in women's sports. And they said Donald Trump hates women for years. He's a Nazi. He's Hitler. He's got a diverse cabinet, diverse team, and he's protecting women's rights.
Diversity of thought and opinion, as well as diversity of everything else. It's important to note here. The next thing, I mean, these Democrats are absolutely going wild over Elon Musk. And in fact, they're actually more upset at Elon Musk than Donald Trump. And their battle cry is like, nobody elected Elon Musk. Meanwhile, they allowed Joe Biden for 4 years to only be awake for a few hours a day, control nothing, and now they're talking about how nobody elected Elon Musk. I actually would disagree with that premise because Elon Musk was a big part of the campaign effort and Doge was a big part of the campaign effort. And I think it was incredibly attractive to the American people that somebody like Elon Musk, who's a certifiable genius, would come in and say, we're spending too much money on dumb crap and we're not going to do it anymore. But they're freaking out. And they're also trying to reframe this conversation that people are going to die, the needy, the hungry are going to go without food in these other nations if we cut off drag shows and trans education. Do you think the American people are in line with this Democrat narrative, or do you think people want to see some cuts?
People want to see cuts in the government. A big reason people voted for Donald Trump is because they wanted to shrink the size of the federal government. They are tired of this government waste. We are $36 trillion in debt. Interest on the national debt is going to cripple our generation. So we have to change something. We can't keep going down this road the way we've been going. And USAID, they spend $50 billion a year on a bunch of nonsense. Americans, most of us who have common sense, we don't want to pay for DEI initiatives in foreign countries we can't even find on a map. I don't want to pay for transgender operas in foreign countries. I don't care if it's $1 or $1 million. Any dollar is way too much. I also don't want to pay for these publications like the BBC or Politico that have dedicated their lives to taking down conservatives, independents, anybody who questions the Democratic mainstream agenda. So I'm all on board with shutting down USAID. This is not some charitable philanthropic effort. It's just been a way to make rich liberals even richer.
I would also argue that it's quasi money laundering. And I think that's why people are getting so upset about this. I think some people are making some dough off of some of this. And now that we're going to take a little look-see into all of it, I think people are getting very, very nervous here. You mentioned this subsidization of these media outlets. It's just bizarre to me. I can't believe how this could ever be legal. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt addressed this yesterday. Let's play that clip for those who haven't seen it.
I was made aware of the funding from USAID to media outlets, including Politico, who I know has a seat in this room. And I can confirm that the more than $8 million taxpayer dollars that have gone to essentially subsidizing subscriptions to Politico on the American taxpayers' dime will no longer be happening. The Doge team is working on canceling those payments now. Again, this is a whole of government effort to ensure that we are going line by line when it comes to the federal government's books. And this president and his team are making decisions across the board on, do these receipts serve the interests of the American people? Is this a good use of the American taxpayers' money? If it is not, that funding will no longer be sent abroad, and American taxpayers will see significant savings because of that effort. Thank you.
I just can't imagine, like, if we had some of this money back to maybe help take care of the people in North Carolina, even those still suffering in California from the wildfires, going back to East Palestine, Ohio. I mean, the list goes on and on. Maui. I can't imagine if we had some of that money back. I feel like we're going to free up a lot of this money to take care of our own people once this is cut off. But do you think this will get over the finish line? There's a lot of red tape. There's going to be a lot of challenges. How confident are you?
If there's anyone who can get anything over the finish line, it's Donald Trump. He's known for the art of the deal. Even when people have counted out Donald Trump, he's managed to get it done. His first term was actually incredibly successful, even though the Democrats and Biden the last 4 years have tried to do revisionist history. But you brought up a good point, because in North Carolina, there are people still reeling from Hurricane Helene. I was just in New York City. There are veterans sleeping on the street who have served our country, and we're paying for Politico to write hit pieces on conservatives and independents? Absolutely not. This is insanity, and it has to stop.
I think it will stop, and I love the transparency of the American people. It's really hard for Americans that are struggling to look at $70,000 going to a DEI play in Ireland. I'm not sure what a DEI play is. It sounds awful. I'm slightly intrigued, but it sounds awful. I just can't imagine what that even is, and who would want to watch it. Also, very bizarre to me. I know something
Maybe
that
Ketanji Brown Jackson can go perform in that play as well, because she was just on Broadway.
you're right, she was. Thank goodness we don't have to see those clips anymore. I know that you also pay a lot of attention to what Meghan Markle is doing. I think she has a Netflix show. I think maybe they pushed back the release of that. It looked really stupid. She tried to go, and what some say she was trying to be like a devastation tourist after the wildfires, of course, trying to get her PR game ramped up again because nobody really likes her anymore. But she put out this video. I want to take a look at it. Maybe you can walk me through exactly what I'm listening to. Okay. Let's take a look.
About 2 or 3 weeks ago, when my husband and I were in Altadena, we went to a community where all the homes were left in ashes. This mom had found a couple things, and as I was talking to her, I turned and looked and I saw this young woman, and I said, "Oh my gosh, how old are you?" She's 15. She lives there. And her mom shared something with me and said that when they came back to see their house for the first time, which is as we were meeting them, that all that she'd been looking for in her home was the t-shirt from the Billie Eilish concert that she had just gone to, that she left in the washing machine or the dryer. And of course, they now see their home and the washing machine and the dryer are ash. They're not there anymore. And so I said, "Well, I don't know Billie Eilish, but I'm going to figure out how to get you this shirt." Guys, I don't even know what all of this stuff means, but it's signed for her. Is that a thing? A lunchbox thing? I don't know. This is when I feel really old. Huge thank you, Billie Eilish. This is going to mean so much to her.
All right, walk me through that really horrible video.
Tomi, unfortunately, I do have my PhD in Harry and Meghan, so I will give you the cliff notes on what happened. So after these people lost everything in a devastating fire in Pasadena, Harry and Meghan decided, we're going to go traipse through the rubble with the mayor of Pasadena. We're going to take TMZ, paparazzi, we're going to make a spectacle of it to curry favor with the public because we just got trashed over our out-of-touch Netflix trailer. So they go and they're traipsing through the rubble, but these people who own these homes haven't been allowed to even go back and see if there's a scrapbook to see if anything has made it. We saw Trump have that showdown with LA Mayor Karen Bass because people want to go back to their homes, but the Duke and Duchess of Scamalot are allowed to go traipse through their front yard. So Meghan Markle, she runs into this girl, allegedly, who says after everything, after the house is burned down, she really wants this Billie Eilish merch. So Meghan Markle, being the genius she is, she goes, how can I find this merch? How can I track this down? It's on the website. She could have bought it. But she makes some calls to Adam Levine, her famous friend. She gets the merchandise and she posts a video because she's not going to do charity unless she can get credit. This is not real altruism if you're putting it out there online to curry favor with the public. She could have sent the items to the girl without asking for fanfare, but that's what Harry and Meghan do, and that's why they're little hucksters, Tomi.
They're just so awful. And just as a side note here, listen, when we lose things, especially if you're a young girl, there might be things that are more important to you when you're 15 that maybe if you were 35 wouldn't be so important. But it also, her sharing that story, I mean, there are people that literally have nothing.
Right.
There are people, especially in North Carolina, who are poor that could never afford to live in Pasadena or Altadena that really don't have electricity. They've been living in hotels for months now. And so to put up a video and say she just wanted her Billie Eilish shirt out of the washing machine, I can't help but think like there are some people that would just like to be able to go back to their home and have electricity and running water. But I guess a stupid Billie Eilish shirt, that's what Meghan Markle thought was going to curry favor with the public. Just seems really tone deaf to me when there are people that would just like basic necessities, but that's neither here nor there. Whatever. These people are just, they're scam artists. You're exactly right. I want to talk about something that's far more important than that, and that's RFK Jr. Obviously, you're very close to this issue. Some good movement forward here. How confident are you that we're going to see RFK Jr. confirmed and ready to get to work?
So I'm pretty confident. You know, Senator Cassidy was the one person people were skeptical of, but he spoke to Robert Kennedy Jr. over the weekend. They had a meeting of the minds. They discussed where they can work together. And that's really what politics is about. It's about sitting down, saying, okay, where can I make concessions? Tell me what your issues are. How can we come together in the middle and get something done for the American people? So I'm happy to hear that Bobby and Senator Cassidy have spoken and they're going to work together at HHS. So it's looking like he's going to be confirmed. It's looking like Tulsi Gabbard is going to be confirmed. overturned. And this is what we need, right? Donald Trump, he won. This was a decisive victory. He should be able to have the cabinet he wants. If Joe Biden could have an overweight man in a dress, Rachel Levine, dictating health policy the last 4 years, then we should be able to have Robert Kennedy Jr., who's been on the front lines of the health and wellness epidemic for years in this country, Tomi.
Yeah, and again, a lot of the hysteria over it and some of the things that he may have said. Listen, there are some things that RFK Jr. has said and written that I think are a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But just because he has those feelings or he said something one time and people are like, oh, now he's going to go and do all these crazy things. I don't think so. I think he's just going to go to basics. And I think people are also misunderstanding the power that somebody has in that role. It's not like he's going to get in and then the next day it's like all these things that he wants to do are just going to immediately happen. I mean, let's calm down the hysteria a little bit here. Moving on to some other news that I find kind of disturbing. I saw this morning on Fox News, of course, our good friend Bill Maloogian out with ICE, embedded with ICE in Aurora, Colorado. We have some of the just B-roll footage, but I'm going to walk you through kind of what they discovered when they got there.
Okay.
These apartment complexes, you know, the ones that Martha Raddatz said, only a few of them have been taken over by violent gangs. Yeah. Well, they go to some of these apartment complexes that were taken over by violent criminal alien gangs, and they get there and they knock on the door and they don't see the gang members there. So I guess the narrative that unfortunately we're having to infer is that maybe they were tipped off by somebody, whether it be local leaders, whether it be, you know, whoever is doing it. There's a potential that they were tipped off and told to get out of Dodge before they were arrested. Now, I can't imagine wanting to shield criminal Tren de Aragua gang members, but maybe this is where we are in Trump derangement syndrome. How do you think this is going to play with the people in Colorado?
I don't think it's going to play well for the people in Colorado. You just brought up Martha Raddatz in that comment she made, and I remember J.D. Vance's rebuttal. He said, are you listening to yourself, Martha Raddatz? Even one apartment complex being taken over is way too much. So if somebody is leaking information to these gang members, which would not surprise me, I'm sure we can get to the bottom of it. People voted for mass deportations and an overwhelming landslide. Over 80% support Trump's border policy. So Tom Homan, Kristi Noem, Donald Trump, Pam Bondi, they're going to do what it takes to make our country secure. We can't have MS-13 gang members running the street in the United States of America.
And it's also disappointing to me that some of these leaders are doing this. And, you know, I have mixed feelings about this. I want Tom Homan to go to the worst of the worst places in these sanctuary cities, and I want him to clean house. But then part of me is like, you know what? There are residents of this Aurora community that were out shouting at ICE agents, telling them to get out, trying to instruct the illegal aliens what they should do to evade ICE. And I know that that's not representative of the entire community in Colorado, Denver, Aurora. It's not. A lot of people want these people out. But in California, you saw those mass protests over deportations. And so part of me is like, okay, Tom, if they don't want you guys there, you're going to go there. But first, please come to Nashville, Tennessee. Get out our illegal aliens. Start here. Start in the red states that are going to be supportive. Let's get all them out then. And then these other places that are clinging so tightly, they keep voting for the people that are clinging so tightly to their criminal illegal aliens, maybe go there last. I'm conflicted on the priority, but it's frustrating to me because here in Tennessee, like, we want them all out. So maybe start here. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on the priorities?
Absolutely. I think we should start with the most violent criminals. We have had rapists, murderers, gang members in this country. We've unfortunately lost young women like Jocelyn Nungari, Laken Riley. Those are the criminals I would target first and get out of the country. A lot of these folks they're going and picking up are actually ones who've been on lists the last 4 years, but Joe Biden just did not want to act. He put Kamala Harris in charge of the border, and we all saw how that went. She went down there for 20 minutes to do a photo op. So I think Tom Homan is going to do what he has to do. I understand what you're saying. They have to have priorities, but it seems like they're going to get down the list. And it also, I have to point out, we've only been a few weeks into this administration. It feels like a lifetime, but we've got months and months and years to go to get this country back on the right track.
Well, let's just talk about the deterrence factor of saying, hey, you come here illegally, you might be going to Gitmo for a little while before you get sent back to your country. I mean, I think that needs to be on a billboard, a banner. If you're going to cross the border, you know, this is what you're going to be up against, and you're not going to be able to stay. You're going to waste all that money on the criminal organizations you paid to get here, and you might end up in Gitmo, and it's not going to be a vacation for you. So I think that that's an incredible deterrent factor. I also worry about Florida because we're seeing reports now that you've got Chinese nationals that are going through the Bahamas trying to paddleboard to Miami. Like, I mean, give it to them for ingenuity, but my God, like we need to put some more resources on our coastlines as well. I know they're going to do it. It's only a matter of time. I'm happy we've got an administration in charge. They've got a lot of work on their hands. My God, poor Tom Homan. Like, I don't know when he sleeps. I want to move on to some pop culture stuff. We know we got the big game on Sunday. I'm not a big Super Bowl person. I don't really care. I care even less because of the teams that are playing. I think a lot of people are kind of in that boat. But I was very shocked to see the boyfriend of Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, make what I thought was a really civil, maybe even unifying statement about Donald Trump at the Super Bowl. Let's take a look at this.
No matter who the president is, I know I'm excited because it's the biggest game of my life, you know, and having the president there, you know, it's the best country in the world, so it'd be pretty cool.
All right, I give him a little credit. I like the answer. I like the answer. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, anybody can look at me and tell I am not a sports genius, but I do make a point to watch the Super Bowl every single year. I like what Travis Kelce said. Football is a great unifier in our country. People love to come together, the camaraderie. And Donald Trump, he's been to many football games the last few years, especially on the campaign trail. So this is nothing different. I can't wait to see him go to the game, and I can't wait to see who wins.
And he's also going to do an interview with Brett Baer ahead of the Super Bowl. And we know that Joe Biden opted out of that opportunity last year, probably because he was sleeping or in a hyperbaric chamber somewhere.
It was past 4 p.m. So.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I'm not even sure if that 10 to 4, that was a very generous window, I think. The last thing, I see this clip circulating on social media, and I find it to be just hilarious. Speaking of Joe Biden, you know, Joe Biden was the king of the DEI initiatives in the White House and all of this. But maybe not so much when it came to the pay scales, at least according to this CNN panelist. Let's take a look at this doozy.
I do not have the same opportunity as you. I know I don't.
And you know
and
that
I know
too.
let's go.
And you know that.
Let me just tell you about me.
I'm gonna let you finish, but I want to answer this.
I'm not talking about how you feel. I'm talking about how I feel. Me, a black woman in this country.
But not in this city.
And I will run. And if you want me
I'm a New Yorker, not in this city. You cannot say that. You can't say that in this city.
I'm not talking about New York. I'm talking about actually
let her finish.
right here. I got a law degree, a master's, and 2 bachelors. Probably more education than all of y'all added up together at this table, right? And I have always been the least paid person on payroll at every institution I have worked in. And it's not because...
Even in the White House?
Even in the White House.
Well, whose fault is that? I don't think you worked for George W. or Trump.
Well, guess what happened when I was there? DEI.
Scott.
Look.
I think she might have just owned herself and the entire Democrat Party and Biden White House in that clip. Again, I can't imagine sitting there as a panelist and just saying, I'm going to talk about me. I watch a lot of Bravo, felt like Bravo to me. I guess CNN and Bravo, basically the same thing now, might as well be. But what's your take on her little tirade there?
Absolutely. I mean, Abby Phillips' show on CNN every night is really turning into a Real Housewives dinner where they just scream and yell at each other. It's a good thing they don't have drinks in their hands. Otherwise, they'd be throwing those. You know, that woman, she's trying to put out this narrative that she's somehow disadvantaged. She's worked in a presidential administration, allegedly. She's on CNN almost every single night. I don't see how she's disadvantaged in life. And if we're speaking about, you know, salaries, maybe she needed a better negotiator because you have to learn how to negotiate your salary and ask for what you're worth. And when she says people in Trump's cabinet are unqualified and they shouldn't have the job, let's not forget Joe Biden put Pete Buttigieg, Mayor Pete, in charge of transportation in this country when his only skills were filling potholes in South Bend, Indiana. And we all saw how that turned out. So saying Trump's people are unqualified doesn't really jive with the last 4 years under Biden.
I'm also wondering how she knows that she's the lowest person. I mean, it's one thing if you're a government employee, I think that might be public record. But I don't know what other Fox News hosts make. I don't know. I mean, a lot of places you don't know what people are making. So I don't know how she so definitively says, like, I'm the lowest paid and I'm the most educated. And I think also how incredibly insulting to everyone sitting around her. Like, I'm way better than all of you. I mean, it's just, it's so stupid. It's so stupid to me. But this show is becoming, honestly, just entertaining because it feels like a Bravo show. And Scott Jennings, like, God bless him. He looks like he's having the time of his life. And you know what? I will give CNN a little credit for putting him there and allowing him to speak because he's the only thing that's saving that network right now, in my opinion. Where do they go from here, Link?
Absolutely. CNN is basically Scott Jennings arguing with liberals every single night. I don't know where CNN goes or MSNBC because nobody really cares about the mainstream media anymore, right? If you've betrayed the trust of the American people, you've pushed propaganda for years, your numbers are going to continue declining. So I wouldn't be shocked if CNN just shutters and closes the doors in the next 5 years. If they don't start having a more diverse group of voices, meaning conservatives, Republicans, independents, then they're going to go down. I don't want to see Adam Kinzinger there every single night as the conservative on the panel.
Oh, God. Yeah, I love it when they pick people that hate Donald Trump that say that they were once a Republican and then they call that the conservative voice. Like, please, come on now. What's not our problem? And I know that Fox News, I mean, we're just racking up the numbers like an insane amount. So, you know, doing well over on that side of everything. But best of luck to CNN. Good luck to them and all of their endeavors.
We wish them well.
We do. We wish them well. Get well soon, everybody. Link, thank you so much for taking the time with me today. I will definitely circle back if we have any more Meghan Markle clips. I know you are the certified expert in all those things, but I'm hoping we don't have to endure any more of those clips.
Right.
But there will be plenty more for us to discuss on another Thursday, so please come back and have a fantastic
Thank you
weekend.
for having me.
Enjoy the Super Bowl.
Yes, thank you.
All right, folks, that does it for this episode of Tomi Lahren is Fearless. I will catch you right back here tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. Also, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.